Intuitive permaculture. Intuitive permaculture is a phrase that I've been using the last few years as I've been wandering around in my own expression of permaculture. My history with permaculture, or my training with permaculture, and my experience up until now has been learning techniques and ideas and skills, knowledge sharing, watching what other people are doing, trying things on for myself, and really delving into the logistics of it, the how-tos, if you will. And as I've been engaging with the how-tos of permaculture, and permaculture is a mindset or a way of living, not just ways to grow food, but ways to consider the world. So as I've delved into that, what I've realized is something hasn't fully resonated with me. The concept and notions and the principles and ethics of permaculture resonate with me, but they don't feel my own. They don't feel like my own voice. They don't feel like they've integrated into the essence, let me rephrase that. The essence of who I am has not fully integrated into these notions and ideas. So what I've been really clear on, or the barriers that I've run into are when following techniques and ideas, reading other people's books and blogs and vlogs and papers and those sorts of things. As I'm doing that, I can feel the threads of what makes sense and what's instinctual and natural, and it's a big yes for me. But I'm always left with, nope, that's not quite it. We haven't tied something together. We haven't connected something. I haven't made that aha moment about it that becomes my own. And so this concept or this notion of intuitive permaculture has come to me in terms of the language, and what I'm starting to understand it as is this beautiful play and dance and curiosity about the ideas and notions and concepts and principles and ethics of permaculture and how they become a lived experience in my everyday world. How I do permaculture is often how I've referred to it. So after reading blogs and vlogs and all of these sorts of things, I've come to know that I have a piece of the pie. I am connected to the whole, and yet what I'm here for is to infuse the essence of Mandy into the permaculture world. And right now that feels like the introduction of a concept called intuitive permaculture. So intuitive brings up all of these ideas, preconceived notions, I suppose, of, instinct and knowing something beyond what you can see and following that internal compass. And for some people, that's kind of ethereal and less than tangible, and it moves beyond the physical, but it's a bit confusing and touchy-feely, and, there's lots of people who are unwilling to go there. So what I created for myself in an experience with my permaculture design training was a teacher who was really clear. They weren't, if you wanted the woo-woo stuff, you needed to go see, Starhawk. If you wanted the warm and fuzzy stuff, that wasn't his gig. And he was incredible at the knowledge and the skill sharing and the mathematics and the calculations and the very scientific approach, if you will. And I'm air quoting scientific because I think the modern science traverses both the ethereal or the energetic world as well as the physical world, but some people haven't got there yet or allowed themselves to go there. Anyway, so what I experienced, or what I created for myself, was this experience of somebody who was really clear that there was no room for the energetic or the spiritual in the experience of permaculture design, because permaculture design is very much mathematical equations and concepts and specific skills of the physical world. It genuinely is. So how I engage my world, how I engage my growing or my journey of sustainability or my journey of resiliency, how I engage my zero waste journey, how I engage my alternative energy journey, my building, leaving a smaller footprint, sort of tiny living concept, whatever it is that I'm engaging in, that in a more connected way with our ecosystems, which is, I think, part of what permaculture expresses, is I start to find a flow and an ease, and less it becomes about the how-tos and the mathematical equations, and more it becomes about an internal experience, an internal guidance system where I hear a yes, and I hear a no, and I hear a not now, or I hear a maybe, but I don't hear a yes, but you should blah, 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 this way, and blah, 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 that way, and yada, yada, yada. It's less about that, and it's less about the technique and the structure and the skill set of it. It becomes more. Those are really important when you're executing a plan. But as the creation or the birthing of a permaculture design or an interaction in a community garden or in community or in my quote-unquote family, the more and more I soften and I allow that internal clock to take over, the more connected and potent my choices become. And it moves beyond and defies logic. So I become more abundant. I create more abundance and more ease and more flow, the more willing I am to just be. So rather than the doing that is typically found in permaculture circles, where we create a design and we do calculations and then we enforce that design on a landscape, very mindfully, very, very mindfully so, but it moves beyond that. The more I listen to the land and I work with the land and I start to feel the land, and then I take all of that inside of my quantum biological device, which is my body, I get cues and notions and ideas and thoughts and creation that I won't necessarily have if I'm just listening to my brain. So it becomes this intuitive dance of listening, and then the impulse or the choices come from there, and they're informed from something you may or may not understand, or you may or may not, be able to articulate to somebody else. But it doesn't matter, because it's a more powerful, more potent, more connected space. So intuitive permaculture to me it goes hand in hand with self-evolution. It goes under the presupposition that nothing is separate. It really is a matter of it's just a matter of getting to know myself and listening for myself, because myself, the essence of who I am, is who guides it. So, I don't really know what else to say besides that, but I invite further conversation. I'm really curious about where intuitive permaculture will take me. Will it be into the world of permaculture, or will it create a whole other experience of our world for a different group of people, if that makes sense? So when I'm engaging with people in the permaculture, and I'm air quoting, the permaculture community, they don't always hear what it is I'm saying. They don't feel that. But I've met people who are not from the quote-unquote permaculture community who absolutely get it to the core of their existence, and they're drawn and called to that. They're called to those explorations. So we can use our natural world, we can use our permaculture ethics and our principles as ways to engage our own evolution in a practical, lived experience. It's not something we philosophize about, it's something that we engage in day by day by day in a variety of ways, whether we're reducing our trash, or we're reducing our energy consumption, or we're growing food, or we're involved in our local communities doing initiatives. It's a lived experience, it's a day-to-day expression. And I think that's what's different. I think that is the evolution of the species that we're looking for. It becomes this, not just something we think about and it's a concept and we want to figure out the steps to put it in place, but rather it's something that comes from this less tangible internal clock. So I invite all of you who are listening to this to really check in with yourselves and ask yourselves where and when you allow that internal clock to lead and choose from impulse rather than from your brain, rather than from the 28 really great reasons your brain gives you to build a wicking bed. Even though it makes sense to build a certain guild in a certain spot, but something inside of you says, no, put it over there. So despite all of the logic to contrary, where are the places that you choose something different? Because you know something. You can't tell people how or why you know it. It doesn't even make sense. But it makes sense to you. And it is such an impulse that you can no longer deny it. Where are those magical moments in your world? And do you listen to them? So that's my take on intuitive permaculture in this moment.